So you bought a knitting pattern, spent hours knitting the project, bound off, woven your ends, and then you notice the fine print. For personal use only, you may not sell items made from this pattern. Wait. What? You can tell me what to do with the pattern you sold me, sure, but the item I made from the pattern, you're going to tell me what I can and can't do with that? The one I made with my yarn, my time, and my hands? Does that even hold up, or is it just designer wishful thinking? And if you've ever wondered whether or not you can sell your knits, this is where things get a little interesting. Get cozy and let's dive in. Hello, 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 and welcome to the Wool Needles Hands Midweek Ramble. My name is Tayler, and I will be your host. A viewer recently left a comment on one of my videos that had me thinking about how I could take some time to really dive into this particular subject matter, because I know it's something that has a lot of knitters and crocheters scratching their heads from time to time and wondering just how much control the designer has over what they do with the items that they create once they create them. Let me share the comment with you and then you'll understand where we're going with this. They wrote, I really want to know that after I buy a pattern, I find out that they want to control what I do with the items I make. How can they tell me what I can sell and what I can't? You can tell me what I can do and what I can't do with the pattern you sold me, but how are you going to tell me what I can or cannot do with my belongings? You invest a lot into your projects, whether it's time, yarn, physical strength in your hands. All of these things are invested into that project to feel as if what you do with that belonging, as the person states it, that item afterwards, to feel as if you don't have the freedom to choose what you do with that item once you've finished it, seems like a little bit of an overstep. And I agree, in a sense, it does feel that way. And when it comes to whether or not the designer has any say in the matter, those lines, like I say, are a little blurry. But I want to dive into it because there really is a pretty clear answer. You just have to know how to navigate the situation. Here's the real catch, and the commenter did acknowledge this in their original comment, but just to elaborate on it a little further. The designer owns the intellectual property that is the knitting pattern itself. They own all rights to the instructions and the overall knitting pattern itself, what you would need to use to create the item. The designer owns the pattern, you own the finished item, but when those two worlds collide, that's where things tend to get a little blurry. So let's dig into exactly what rights you as the maker has and what rights the designer has and why that fine print shows up in the first place. This stack of papers or the PDF on your iPad is the recipe. You bought the right to use it, but you didn't buy the copyright to the words within the document. So that means that you can't reproduce this and sell it to other people, or you can't reproduce it and give it away for free. That right belongs solely to the designer. That is what copyright law protects. They have legal grounds there. The item that you make with this set of instructions, with this pattern, on the other hand, is a different story. Copyright law doesn't cover what's considered useful objects like hats, sweaters, or socks. It covers the instructions you use to make them. So in most countries, in most cases, that item that you make with that set of instructions is completely yours to do with as you see fit. You can sell it, donate it, or unravel it and make a weird scarf instead. Really, the choice is yours. And let me provide another analogy here to lend a little bit of perspective. If you buy a Lego set and you build a castle, you can sell the castle once you're finished. You just can't start selling photocopies of the instruction booklet that you used to create the castle. The castle is just an arrangement of the Lego that are yours to do with as you see fit. How you arranged those Legos, what instructions you used to arrange them in whatever way you arranged them, that is neither here nor there when it comes to what you're going to do with those Legos, because they belong to you. The yarn belongs to you. How you arranged the yarn into the pattern doesn't change the fact that it is still your yarn, and what you do with that yarn is absolutely up to you. It's the pattern and the text within the pattern that is the intellectual property of the designer and is therefore protected by copyright law. Now, before we all grab our pitchforks, let's talk about why some designers add that line to their patterns, because not all designers do. We're going to get that out of the way right now. It's not obligatory. You don't have to do that when you draft a pattern. So why are some designers choosing to do that? Sometimes it's not about being bossy. It's about protecting their own income stream. Maybe they sell finished knits themselves and not just the patterns. Maybe they want to make sure that their work doesn't get mass produced and sold on Etsy in a way that undercuts them. They poured hours into writing and testing and formatting that pattern. Seeing that exact design mass sold can feel personal. And when I say mass sold, I don't mean mass as in like H&M mass. I mean mass as in multiple versions of that being sold, even at something as small and niche as a craft fair. It can feel personal even if legally they can't stop it. They're asking for your consideration and your courtesy in not producing items with the intention of selling them, but they can't actually knock on your door and confiscate your mittens. And in most countries, you're not doing anything illegal if you choose to sell the items that you knit. Of course, nothing in copyright is black and white, and there are some gray areas and instances where selling items that you knit can land you in some hot water, or in the very least, hot gossip. If you knit something from a pattern that contains a logo or a Disney character, for example, and you choose to sell that item, now you're in trademark territory. If the sweater you're knitting, designed by an independent designer, happens to have the likeness of a very well-known Disney character or comic book character to the point where everybody can recognize who that is, or if there's some kind of a logo knit into the design, you're now heading into trademark territory. And the company that owns the trademark can come after you for violating trademark law. So if you are going to knit something from a pattern that does feature a trademark logo or character, you need to knit that for personal use only. You don't even want to step into trademark waters. Another area that could land you into some hot water is large scale selling of an individual pattern. Take, for example, the baggy hat by Petite Knit. Now, this is a relatively simple hat to knit, and it's one that you could knit a lot of and sell at a craft fair, sell in mass. It wouldn't be difficult to do that. And I mean, and for all intents and purposes, it's a great hat for that particular intention. And it's usually absolutely legal to do that. But in the knitting community, mass producing a particular design and batch selling it without giving credit to the designer can sour relationships and spark backlash. If you're turning one design, like the baggy hat by Petite Knit, into your main product, do your homework first. Check the designer's Ravelry page, Etsy shop, or website. Some already offer small batch maker licenses, often called cottage licenses or maker permits. If they don't mention it, then reach out to them directly. Be clear about your intentions. Talk about volume. Emphasize the batch size. You also want to make sure that the designer knows that you are the only person making this particular item with the intention of selling it in your shop. If you have other people making the item and you all come together to create an inventory, then there's going to be some questions on whether or not the pattern the designer was selling is being shared among multiple makers, or if each of those individual makers have purchased their own copy of the pattern. You can see where that might get a little dicey. In most cases, it's a single person creating items to sell in their shop alone. And so if that's the case, you definitely want to emphasize the volume of the batches. Specify the selling channel. Is it a farmer's market? Is it Etsy? Is it an independent website? You're going to want to let them know where you're going to be selling and how you're going to be selling these items. Give them credit. Reassure them that you'll always name them as the designer of the pattern that was used to create the product. Some designers will happily say yes with no strings attached and just be really thankful that you reached out and considered their side of things. Some may charge a flat fee per item license. Others may politely say no, and that's their prerogative. However, them saying no to providing you with a license doesn't necessarily mean they still have the right to dictate what you do with the items that you create from their pattern. And if you do receive a no from the designer and carry on doing what you will with the items that you created from their pattern, you do have to accept the fact that there is a chance that you might receive a little bit of backlash. I think the real thing here really falls into the category of goodwill. Even if you could technically sell the items without asking, reaching out to the designer sets you apart from others who would otherwise just take advantage of that opportunity without regard for the designer's desires. Head over to Patreon after this video. I will be including a letter that you can actually take and use all you want if you ever need to reach out to a designer to ask for permission to sell the items that you're creating from their pattern. It'll be over there, a template, you can have it, it's yours. Just head over to Patreon. I will leave it available to all members of the Patreon, free and paid. But if you feel like sticking around over there and taking advantage of the additional free content, sign up to become a patron. It means so much to me and it really does a lot to help support the work that I do here at Wool Needles Hands. So here's the bottom line. You own the finished knit. If you want to sell it at a craft fair, go for it. If you want to give it to your cousin who will never wash it properly, also your call. The for personal use only line isn't a magical spell that controls your belongings. It's a request. It's the designer asking for consideration. The real decision comes down to your own ethics and the relationship that you want with the designer. Some makers are happy to follow the request out of courtesy. Others treat it like what it legally is. Optional. Neither camp is wrong, just different priorities. So, have you ever been told that you couldn't sell something that you made from a pattern? Did you follow the request or ignore it? No judgment. Let us know down in the comments. Keep it real, keep it honest, hold back your judgment of others, and let's have a conversation about it. I'd love to hear your take, especially if you're a designer yourself. Because at the end of the day, the fine print isn't about ownership. It's about the blurry space between the designer's rights and the knitter's freedom. And that's where the real conversation starts. Thank you guys for hanging out with me today and listening to me ramble. This is a really interesting topic of conversation, and I love to dive into these kinds of videos with you guys. Always leave questions down in the comments. I pull future video ideas from the comment section, or you can send me an email over at woolneedleshands@gmail.com, or you can head over to the Fiber for the People website and the Wool Needles Hands portion of that website, where you can drop me suggestions for future videos in the tip line. That's a lot to navigate. I'll put links down below in the description box. You guys have a fantastic rest of your work week. Until Sunday for the project update episode, happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.